Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
So, welcome everybody to this morning session of the European Alliance Against Coronavirus. Thank you for joining us. As you know, this session will be recorded and later we will share it in the European Cluster Collaboration Platform and also in the media of the European Cluster Alliance. So it's important to know it. If you keep up with us, you are accepting this, okay? Today, we will dedicate the session to a critical point, circular economy. In this case, in textiles, I am very grateful to receive several excellent examples from Denmark, that for sure is leading in this field, okay? And we have with us Bettina Simonsen, the lifestyle and design clusters. Welcome, Bettina. I hope Nick Frenet from Les Decks and Lars Olsen from Better World Fashion. Okay. After then, we will have also 5 minutes with Natasha Slivesca from Macedonia that will share one example, several projects from that also. Okay. And we will open the discussion to all the attendants. Before entering on this, just one comment on, many of you know that we are collaborating from the European Cluster Alliance and also from CIBER, the network of bio-regions. We are collaborating with the Commission on the building of map exercise of capacities in Europe for vaccine production. In fact, we are now jumping to the next steps, that is to facilitate the link between the different agents in the supply and value chain, okay? We sent a complete report, more than 60 pages, to the European Commission, to the task force past Thursday, and we are working now in the organization of a matchmaking event, most possibly with the, I hope, with the collaboration of others entities. So anyway, the survey that we prepare for that is open, still open. If you know of some company that could collaborate, could participate in this mapping of the capacities for production of vaccines, don't hesitate, please, to forward the link. As I said, today we are going to speak about green transition, specifically about circular economy, and this is absolutely related to the second point of the recommendation of the report made by the expert group on clusters past year. By the way, the report is now public. You can find it in the link that you have in the screen, and I please Nina, if you could share the link in the chat, it would be wonderful. So I will encourage you to download and read it if you think that it could be of interest, and for sure at least read the full list of recommendations that I think that most probably will find some of them related to your activities. So we are building on this, and we will explore today what clusters can do for the circular economy and how we could use them, clusters, use us to develop and implement circular economy strategies and action plans, detect opportunities for circular solutions, and bring circularity in the business processes. So in order to speak about that, we welcome Bettina Simonsen. Bettina.
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Shall I give you the presentation rights?
Shall I share or will you share my presentation?
I will give you the presentation rights. If you have any problem, I could do it also. But probably it's better if you can do that.
Okay, I will share. I think you have to share. I'm not allowed.
No problem at all. Okay, I will do that. Let me just open the presentation. Please, if you are not speaking, mute your mic. I think this is probably Natasha, who is now with the mic open. Would you please mute your mic?
I can hear you well.
Okay, so Bettina, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, thank you for having us this morning. I'm Bettina Simonsen from Lifestyle and Design Cluster. And if you could just move to the next slide, please. I just have about 10-15 minutes this morning, and I made a small agenda for the points I would like to touch. And I will start to just introduce our cluster, Lifestyle and Design Cluster in Denmark, and how we work with circular economy. Then I will look a little bit into how Denmark's strategy is on the circular economy and how the development has been towards today. And then I'm just focusing on the textile and fashion industry, and just to kind of set the scene. Why is it we talk so much about circular economy is a big need in the textile fashion industry? And then some examples of the Danish fashion and textile brands, how they work with circular economy. Yes, next slide, please. We have actually worked in the lifestyle and design cluster with circular economy since 2012, which was the first year we had a program on circular economy. And we have been taking more than 350 companies through a transition from a linear to a circular business model. And from these programs, we have got a lot of knowledge into what is the opportunities, but also how difficult it can be for a company to turn around from working from a linear to a circular company. We have moved on and is now looking into a new areas, especially on how can we combine the digital with the circular economy. And one of the tools we find is very helpful is blockchain technology. And also we have looked into other digital and data programs where we can enforce and support the circular transition. We also do yearly exhibitions where we collect the Danish brands within furniture and within textile and fashion on the normal exhibitions, where we have a focus on how can brand actually work with circular economy. And that is a way, of course, for the brand to explain to other brands, but also to motivate and to encourage Danish brands to go into this transition and see what can the outcome be. It's always easy when you can actually look at the product and see how is it possible to work with circular economy and actually get a business out of it. Yes, next please. I won't go into details. Sometimes I have more time to talk about our cluster, but here you can see the 3 focus areas of our cluster, and that is design and entrepreneurship, circular economy, and digitalizations and new technology. And what is really interesting, of course, when you go into the middle, when you combine these 3 focus areas. Yeah, next please. Just a little bit about the roadmap of the Danish focus, the Danish government focus on circular economy. We started up actually together with, of course, many other countries to join and to enforce the SDGs, 7 SDGs, where number 12, especially number 12, is about circular thinking. And in 2017, the Danish government put together an advisory board to see how can Denmark work with circular economy. What is the way forward? What kind of strategy should we take on starting up on this for the whole Danish industry? And then they made a national strategy in 2018 and also put up proposed programs on how to make this transition. In 2019, the government put up the climate partnership, we call it, and one of the 13 focused on waste, water, and circular economy. And that actually meant, as a background for the Danish government to launch its goal on a climate, the carbon footprint target by 2030 on reducing 70%. And just recently we had a hearing in Denmark on the new, very ambitious action plan for circular economy, and we are expecting it here in the spring to be published and open. And also, of course, for the fashion textile industry, we have the Danish government an ambition actually already from the 1st of January 2022 to do household collecting of waste textiles. Which is, of course, very important for the circular economy, that we don't put the textile into incineration, but use it as have it as a new resource into the whole circular system. Next. And why is it we actually have to talk about this fashion textile and the whole circular economy? What can it do for the industry? As you probably have heard, many of you and work in the textile fashion industry, it is kind of a lot of publicity about the burning platform for the industry, and in many research, it's put up as the 4th most polluting industry. And of course, one of the issues is the overstock problem, that we actually produce more garments that actually been sold or used. And these overstock, we call it dead stock, is a big problem for the industry. And also, when you look at the material that goes into the fashion textile industry, less than 1% is actually recycled. And also, the consumption level of the European consumer of textile fashion is very high. I guess we all know we have more clothes and textiles in our homes that we will ever use. We probably have enough for 3 lifetimes for all our use. But also, if we continue this way of just producing and having so much textile we don't reuse, we in MacArthur Foundation have come up with a percentage that by 2050 the fashion textile will have 26% of the global carbon footprint in its conscious. So we have to do something. Next. So what have we done as a cluster, and what is our new kind of focus? We have a small sewing lab, we call it, where we have about 8 seamstresses working there, where we help brands redesign and to collect if they have garments arriving to Denmark that have smaller mistakes, so it doesn't get put into waste, but it can have new life. We also help many small entrepreneurs who would like to start up a circular business model. It can be very hard as a small entrepreneurs to get and book capacity at the big sewing factories. So we help them, assist them to get their wings and to start up their small fashion companies. We have a big area of the textile symbiosis is that the textile waste collection from 2022, we want to make sure that it is actually used as a resource and not just as a waste that go into incineration. We also will combine that together with the businesses, textile waste and use it into a big plotting of see how can we use all these normally you call waste textile, but use it as a resource into reuse or to use the fibers one to one fiber or in down cycling examples. So almost none will go into waste, and it's a big project we have the next 2 years. And also one other big focus area is the take-back systems. It's very difficult for many Danish textile and fashion brands to work on take-back, and I hope we hear more about that today from some of the Danish brands. But it's especially when you are international global brands, how can you actually do a take-back program, and how can you actually make sure that these take-back products are put into new use? Yes, next. And we have put up the circular textile themes into these areas. And I would just, I'm running out of time, I can see, but I'll just take just a moment to go into the different themes and give you some examples. Next, please. On the packaging side, as you probably know, that the fashion textile industry also have a problem of lots of plastic for packaging, and also, of course, some, especially now with the online sale being such a big part of the revenue, we have to look into how can we reuse the packaging many times instead of just one and then goes out to the consumer and then go into incineration. And one example is the recip. It's a packaging where you actually either use the packaging when you receive your web order and you send it back if you return it, or if not, if you have just you return the packaging by mail and it's free. Yes, and next. And on leasing, one area of extending the lifetime of the products could be leasing. And we have in Denmark some very good examples of leasing. And one is it's called Continued, and it's has several brands where you actually can go and rent styles. And we have Carlo, and it's a subscription where you get 2 to 4, 5 styles every month, and you return them after a month's use. And of course, the stylist put together a package for you that suits your size and what your needs are. And then we have Better World Fashion, which we will hear about a little bit later. So I won't go into that. Next. And also the resale, the whole reuse of the fashion products is becoming a bigger and bigger market. And we also see some very good new and some that's been there for a while, but it's getting larger and larger examples. And one is called Veas Vintage, and this is resale stores and online where you can either swap your styles. You come with your old clothes and you can get new styles with your home, or also you can buy reused products. One of the biggest online resales platform is called Trend Sales, and they are getting larger and larger part of the Danish fashion sales platforms. And I have put in the link here so you can go and explore yourself. But they have very good data, which we use in some of our projects. For what items are having a higher value than others, and why is some item selling quite fast, and why is some other styles selling a little bit slower. And all these data we are putting into a program to kind to see and monitor the market for resale products. Next, please. Repair service is also a very important part of the circular economy, and also to extend the lifetime of the products. And we will see more and more services, I'm sure, in the future where brands, in order to work more circular, will offer repair service on their products. Next, please. And as I told you before, the Take Back program will also be a very big part of circular economy and brands in the future, but also we see a lot of Danish brands experimenting with this, and we will hear a little bit later from Les Deux about their experiences, so I won't go into details with this. Next, please. And of course, one area is also for in the fashion and textile industry to expand the lifetime of the product will be the design for longevity. And so you can reuse parts. So you don't have to, if there's a hole in your sleeve or there's some bottom missing, but you can always get parts or you can get it repaired. And actually, a very interesting example is Nybo Workwear, where they expand the lifetime of workwear. So you can either, if it's torn somewhere, or if it's a logo missing, or if you reuse the used products, you can easily take away logo from the different companies and reuse it again in other purposes. So I also put a link here so you can read more about that. Next, please. And then, of course, also a whole part of the circular economy is not just to make sure that the product that's out there is put in the circle and reused many times, but if from the beginning to look how can we reduce and reuse materials much more so they also get a longer lifespan. And as we can hear a little bit later about Better World Fashion is one very good example. And then we also have another brand called Leftover in Denmark, which they actually use professional aprons and sheets and bedding from hospitals and hotels into fashion products. Yes, next please. Yes, that was my very short introduction to how we as a cluster work with circular economy and some examples from the Danish industry. And now I think I will turn the floor to some of the brands who's actually really doing this and to hear their stories. And thank you for listening.
You are very, very welcome, Bettina. Excellent presentation, very clear and with very inspiring examples. So thank you. And now we are going to hear Nick René Nissen. Hello, Nick. Welcome.
Hello.
From,
thank you.
From Les Deux. Yeah.
Cool.
Do you have a present? Sorry.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry. I'm
Do
sorry.
you have a presentation? I cannot hear you.
I do not have a presentation. I will just speak for some minutes to give you an introduction to this. So Perfect. If I have this, perfect. Thank you so much.
The floor is yours.
Perfect. Just to give a very short introduction to who I am and where I come from. I come from the Danish fashion company called Les Deux. We started almost to the day 10 years ago. And I've been in the company for 6-7 years, and I've been working in marketing, but moved over to project management. And therefore, a part of this, or a big part of this, was turning Les Deux into in a more sustainable direction. How we did that was to create what we call Les Deux Legacy. Les Deux Legacy is all about being proud of leaving behind a world that we can be proud of, and that comes to down to 2 bullet points. One part is our work with charity, and the other part is sustainability, which we're going to focus on here. Back in 2018, our sustainable transformation really took speed. We sat down with someone we call CSR Forum, and those guys are experts in turning a old school fashion brand into a more sustainable direction. We came up with those guys with a sustainability strategy, which has 3 focus areas. We have the responsible supply chain management, we have the material strategy, and then we have the conscious consumption. which is what we're going to focus on here with the avoiding overconsumption and trying to extend the lifespan of these materials. Here we have introduced the Leather Rewear. It's a platform for used leather clothing. So to put it very basic, you deliver your used leather clothing back to us. We clean it, steam it, make it repaired, make it ready to resell, and then you can buy it so far online on a second-hand web shop we have created. Yeah, to motivate people to interact with this and give them some kind of motivation to really get going and not just throw our clothing in the trash can, but send it back to us. We give them a discount which they can use, not on, of course, not on what we call the new clothing, but the other clothing which is sent back. So it's not a motivation to sell even more, it's a motivation to get the clothing floating in the society instead. We introduced this in 3 different stages. Right now it's only in Denmark, and that's why we launched it with the Magasin, which is the biggest department store here in Denmark. We had a couple of weeks where we did this huge campaign for everybody to show up in the Magasin of their area and deliver their clothing back. Then they were handing over a small voucher, a discount voucher, which they could use on our reuse platform, our Leather Rewear platform for used clothing. So that was a really good kickstart to get a lot of clothing back, which were just laying around in Danish people's homes, for us to really get this going and make it interesting for people to look into it. Then the second step was we're still a fairly small company, but so far we have 4 of our own shops. So we opened up for the opportunity for people to get to our own shops now and handing over clothing. And when they did that, they could either talk to our to the salespeople working in the shops and have a discussion about this, or they could go to this tablet solution which we are implementing right now, where they don't even need to be in contact with anybody. They can just go in, hand over the clothing in an area where we have, and then they just push into the tablet whatever they handed in, and they will get these voucher points on their personal account. So when they get back to their home, they can sit on the computer and see, oh, maybe I have 100 Danish kroners I can use on already used clothing. The next thing, which of course during these Corona months where the shops have been laid down, we couldn't receive any clothing, but that just made us think how we should proceed with this, and we came up with the online idea. So right now we're implementing that when you sit, you don't even have to show up at one of our shops. You can actually sit online, order a return kit, we'll send it to you, you put your clothes in it and send it back, and then you get your voucher points on your personal account and can spend it on used clothing. So we are all the time we're trying to make it easier and easier for people to hand in their clothing, because I don't know how ready our segment is, our target group for this. So we need to be very welcoming in all the ways that they can hand it in. What we are focusing on in the future, or we have 3 additional ideas to even make this even more interesting for people. It could be some kind of rental service. We can see that others have done this, but what we can see is that they have a bit higher price point at their clothing, and that can maybe be a trigger to why people find it interesting to rent the clothing instead of buying it. But that's definitely one of the things we would like to look into. Then, of course, as I told you before, this is a platform only working in Denmark so far. But of course, we should try to make it. Right now we are in 15 countries selling our clothing, and ideally it will be possible for all of them to hand in their clothing. What we're waiting for right now, it's the guys we're working with is called Continued Fashion, and right now we need a more centralized stock opportunity outside of Denmark to make this possible. But I know those guys are searching for it right now for us to take the next step. And then of course, right now, if you want to buy our clothing, you need to go online on our little Rewear site. But we would like to implement it in our own retail stores as well. Or, for example, Magasin. Magasin have been very interesting in also turning their company in a more sustainable direction. Maybe it could be interesting for those big department stores to have just a rack or two of used clothing and make this interesting for people out there. So right now we are just about to implementing the third step in this reusing our clothing, and we already have 3 new ideas to how to move it. And we had a really good start with it. Then of course Corona took its turn and we could get new clothing on the site, but we're working on it as I told you with the online solution, which I'm sure will kick it all back to normal and make it even more popular. So that's where we are with our platform right now, and our work with get our old clothing back and reused. Oh yeah, and one last bullet. Sometimes we will get some clothing back which is unrepairable, like it's too damaged. You can always repair it to a certain standard, and that's where this little legacy comes handy, because we have a lot of charity work as well. So the clothing we can repair to a certain level, we can use in one of our other projects. Or if it's a 100% clean material, we can use it for reproduction again. So that's how we work with it right now.
Sorry, my most congratulations, Nick.
Thank you.
Wonderful job, wonderful examples. Thank you very much. We will come back to you soon on the last phase of the session. So now, welcome Lars Olsen from Better World Fashion. Lars, would you like to present yourself, or should I share your presentation?
Well, I would like to do it myself if I could do it, but apparently I don't have.
I'm giving you the presentation rights now.
Okay. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I'm going to present Better World Fashion. And my relation to Better World Fashion is that I'm a partner and a chairperson of the board. And Better World Fashion has existed since 2015. So what we do in Better World Fashion is we create new luxury products from secondhand, or you can say essentially it's from a waste stream. So it's leather that has been discarded and collected by NGOs, and then they have tried to sell it as secondhand often. And when they can't do that, then we buy up that leather. And from that leather, we make new products. So it's jackets, it's bags, different kinds of bags, computer bags, backpackers, and so on. We also make aprons and oven mitts and pot holders, and we have a number of new products in the pipeline. So essentially, you can say that our products, they are 98% reuse. I'll come back to that. And they're 100% unique because not two products are exactly equal, because they are not mass produced. They are produced from different pieces of leather coming from different post-consumer products, you can say. So they have their own uniqueness to them. And if we dig a little bit more into that, maybe I should just say that we actually sell this globally. So we have an internet shop, and we have sold to countries all over the world. We don't have our own shops nowhere. We have pop-up shops in Denmark, and we also have some retailers, but we are present online everywhere. Now, if you look into the details, it's not only the leather that is actually reused, it's also the lining, which is made of used PET bottles. And for the harness for our aprons, that can be your grandpa's old harness. So that's also collected by NGOs, and we get those. That has actually been a little bit of a bottleneck because people apparently don't use harness as much as they did in the old days, but we have found good suppliers also in Germany, where they apparently have more of those. So the lining inside our jackets and our bags, that's made of reused PET bottles. And we make a twist to those. Sometimes we have a limited edition where we make some prints. You can see this jacket here has an inside print of from a festival in a popular festival in Denmark. The picture in the middle, in the upper level, that's you can't really see it very, very closely, but the lining there is actually we had a cooperation with the National Museum in Norway, and it's actually a picture of a painting that is presented at that National Museum. So it's not only the lining and the leather, it's also the zippers and the buttons. They are made from reused materials. As far as you can go with metals, you have to add some new in order to make it sturdy enough. But that's how we get to 98% reuse. As I said before, every product is unique because that's, you can say, speciality here. It's not identical products. It's not mass-produced products in that sense. We can scale up, but in a different way. So all products have their own patina and twist to them. Normally, you would say, if you make new products and you find some, you can say, imperfections in the leather, you will probably discard it and take another piece. But here we actually see it as kind of the story. It's kind of the patina, and it's what makes that product unique. So it doesn't really matter whether you have some imperfections. It's actually kind of the story. It's kind of the patina. And that's also why we uniquely identify all the products. So they, for instance, all the jackets, they have their own number, and that is printed inside the jacket. So you can uniquely identify those, and also goes for the bags. Right. So how do you do this? Because this is not the ordinary way of producing stuff. And first of all, when you deal with the leather, which is a wonderful material in the sense that it actually gets better and better as the more you use it, it gets more soft, and you develop the patina, which makes it look rather unique. But when we collect it, we have to clean it, and that is done in a very smart way, where we clean it with sawdust. So we use no chemicals at all in our production. So that's one thing you have to figure out. How do you actually use, you can say, used textiles in a new production? Another thing is that you have to design for upcycling. So, for instance, our jackets, they are made of 28 different pieces, and that's because we don't. I mean, if you have an old leather jacket and you take that apart, there is a maximum size of the pieces you get. So you will have to put more pieces together in order to make an entire jacket. But that also adds to the uniqueness, because some of the details from the former jacket may actually go into the new jacket. It may have some features from the old jacket that goes into the new jacket, and that is the same for the bags. One of the challenges here is that you have to unlearn, you can say, the traditional way of doing things in the production, because you have to see those little details, these features, and part of the story as a plus and not a defect. It's part of the story, and that's therefore you have to do things in a different way in production, because you can't just discard things because they have been exposed to something that has made a dent or mark or something. That's actually part of it. So all these imperfections are patina, and you have to build up this habit of dealing with the products and the production in a new way. That takes some time, actually, because that's not how people usually think in a production line. If we go to the next slide here, there are also some specialities about our business model. So we would very much like to close the loop. We have an ambition to be as circular as possible, and you can say use as little resources as possible. So the way we do that is that we have an unlimited buyback guarantee, and that essentially means that if you have a jacket, for instance, you have a lifetime buyback guarantee, which means that you can hand it back to us, and then you get a 50% discount on similar product. And that goes for unlimited time, for your entire lifetime, essentially, but it also works in that way if you damage the product. So it's not only your jackets, it's everything. For instance, if you make a crash on your bike and you get a hole in the sleeve or whatever, this buyback guarantee still works. And the reason why that is, you can say, apart from a circular, the idea about the circular economy and how you need to take account of all the resources, we can actually take those pieces from the jacket that still works or are still okay. We can take that jacket apart, and we can actually reuse that in a bag or in an oven mitt or whatever. So that's how we try to keep track of our products and get them back into the loop. So that's one thing. The other thing is that you can lease all our products. So you can pay per month, and we have a minimum leasing period of 4 months, and that costs you for a jacket 20 euros per month. And if you have leased it for 2 years or 24 months, you actually own it. But you can also hand it back if you want to change it along the way. Let's say that you have had it for half a year, and then you want a new model, or it is not winter anymore, and you might have one that is not as warm or whatever. Then you can actually send it back to us, and we can you can pick a new one, and we can exchange those. And of course, if you lease for 24 months, then you own the jacket, and then the buyback guarantee works. So that's how we try to build this into our business model and make sure that we keep everything in the loop. And I guess that's the short story. There's one little twist on the last slide here, and that is that not only are the products themselves unique in the sense that everything in our product carries a story. It's not virgin. But we have also, for instance, on a computer bag, we have this trolley strap, as we call it, which is, it has a function. So if you are in an airport and you want to put your computer on a trolley, you can actually hook it on into the trolley strap so it doesn't fall off the trolley. But this trolley strap can be unbuttoned, and you can actually buy these trolley straps separately, and we can laser engrave them with whatever you want. So you could put your logo on. You can also put a statement on, and so you can essentially have a statement of the day if you want to send out a message to the world that day. But it can also be a company that has a logo on these trolley straps. And if at some point you need to get that back, or I mean, you change the logo or something, you can actually just change the trolley strap, and then everything will be fine again. So thank you very much for allowing me to present this. It has certainly been interesting, and I'm of course open to questions when we get to that point. Thank you very much.
You are very, very welcome, Lars. Thank you to you, and I am learning a lot and with those so inspiring ideas. So thank you. And now I will give the floors quickly to Natasha Siweska from Macedonia. She contacted me yesterday, just tell me that they have excellent reference also in this area. And I think that, as you know, this is a space for sharing, and it's wonderful to have all the references. So Natasha, I will give you now the floor. Should I?
Yes.
Will you present yourself?
Yes. If I can share my screen.
Yes, let me find you here in the list. Yeah. So the floor is yours, Natasha.
Thank you.
If not, I can.
Oh, I actually succeed. Okay. Is it okay?
Yes, we can see it. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Antonia, for giving opportunity to present our project. The project name is Design for Cycle. It is for the textile and food industry. So we have 6 partners in the project. We have 2 educational institutions from Latvia and Romania. We have 2 business support organizations from North Macedonia and from Portugal, and 2 expert institutions from Spain and from Belgium. So the consortium work for developing a curriculum together with the SMEs in a consultation with the SMEs and the universities and educational institutions. And we developed a curriculum in 7 modules that are involved in the e-learning platform, which is free to be used from all participants. Shortly, I will go through the modules that we developed. The first module is Introduction to Circular Economy, covering the basic definition, principles, and strategies of the circular economy. Then we have a sustainability challenges in the textile and fashion industry that covers tools and methods for monitor and manage the environmental and social impact of the companies active in the mentioned sector in the textile and footwear production. Then the third module is materials for a circular economy that cover the skills needed to implement circular thinking into textile production and consumption, and then the textile materials and their processing and finishing. Then the fourth module is Design for Circular Economy, covering the understanding the product's life cycle and eco-design fundamentals and principles of the circular fashion. Then we have the model number 5, which is Manufacture for a Circular Economy, ways to make production process more environmentally friendly by reducing dust, water, and energy consumption, or by using more friendly chemicals. And the model 6, which is Recycling Technologies for a Circular Economy of the Textile and Fashion Industry, covering the textile waste collection, sorting, different ways of recycling technology, and reuse of recycled fabrics. And the last module is business management in a circular economy, which is circular business models, sustainable innovation, and innovative marketing strategies, covering also the social and corporative responsibilities of the companies. So from the right side of the screen, there are best practices in the circular economy so far in these 6 countries that we are covering under the project. And more information, of course, you can find at our webpage. I will share the webpage in the chat. This is the part of the e-learning platform. Of course, it is dedicated for the designers, for the SMEs, and so everybody can reach the platform and gain some knowledge additional about this subject. So each model have different units. It has a glossary with the explanation on the specific terms. Then it have additional reading resources where the student can gain more information about the subjects, and each module have a final test. And after the successful finishment of the final test, the students or participant can gain a certificate. I just shortly want to present our last e-newsletter that we developed under the project, and I can share also the link of it, and it also can be found all 4 newsletters under this project on the project website. So I think this subject is very popular also among young people, and we need to work very hard to raise awareness about this matter among firstly young designers, but also with the SMEs that we are actually representing the manufacturers in our countries that we are running this project. That will be all from me. If there is any questions, I'm here to reply on it. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
You are very welcome, Natasha, and congratulations also for your project. It's an excellent reference to be added to this session. So before, just the last point, you know, there is one goal published in the ECCP, okay, about the towards green transition for giving expert support to clusters that can help their members on this green transition, including the circular economy. So, Jan Martin, welcome. Will you comment on this?
Good morning, everybody. Yes, pleasure. Indeed, the call is still open until the 5th of March, so that's only this week. And indeed, I put also in the chat some messages on how to find partners, both in the new updated website, but also through the ERIC pages. So I've sent a few links. But this is a unique opportunity because indeed we'll support from the ECCP both clusters interested to offer services in green transition, as well as experts. So indeed, hurry up, have a look at that particular page you show. It's very good. We can perhaps, Nina, also put this one in the chat. Very happy to then also build that. But I think it's very good to see that the ECCP and the ERIC have merged, and that we are now trying also through the find partners functionality. And while listening to your fantastic presentations, I typed in industry. So a typical thing would be to type in their textiles. But as this is a new categorization, it only pops up for those clusters that have actually updated their profiles. And unfortunately, you will see only 6 have done so. So that is because we have just opened the new relaunched the new website. But the more that would fill in and update the profiles, indeed, the more functionality. But in your case, there are already always Spanish clusters to link with. But this is just a little pitch. But happy to also provide some support afterwards. Thank you.
You are very welcome, Jan Martin. So it's important to update the profiles of the clusters in the ECCP. That way you will be listed. So we have 5 minutes for comments and questions from the audience. So any comment, question? It's a very
Yes,
short
Antonio?
time.
Just one
Samira.
question that when I was listening to all the examples, I was wondering what are the main obstacles to get people actually involved in these initiatives, and so that they take part in the take back programs, that they bring their clothes to recycling. Do you have any insights on what are the most successful messages, channels, other stakeholders or entities to involve in this?
Lars, go on, please.
Yeah, in our case, there are 2 points I would like to make. And one is that our products, they are comparable to new products in the sense that they are as luxury and they are as sturdy and good, and quality-wise, it's at least on the same level. So from that perspective, you can say we are competing with virgin products, and we then on top of that, you can say we add the story, which they don't have. So all our products, they have a story, and I mean, we often state that this jacket used to be something else, right? And that stirs people's curiosity. So actually, we have something that virgin products doesn't have, and if people they actually start to listen to the story, then they're intrigued, and that's also why when we're looking for retailers in Denmark, it's not fashion retailers. It's actually retailers that are used to tell a story. And I mean, funny enough, that's not fashion stores, because they are used to sell mass production stuff, and we are selling unique products, right? So wine dealers is actually, or wine retailers is actually a pretty good bet, where we go in and get them to act as retailers for us, because they're used to sell long stories about the wines and so on, and they can do the same thing for our products. So you have to think differently in that perspective, and of course it is a challenge, but there are ways to handle it.
I really like the idea of make every product unique, the uniqueness of your jacket. So thank you.
Sonia, I also have a perspective on it, if you're ready.
Yes, sure.
As we see it right now, we have by far the most success with the younger part of our target group of delivering that clothing and actually also buying from our platform. The older segments, we have a bit trouble really reaching those. So right now, I think our target group needs to mature, but I think common for all of them is that they would like to leave behind a better world, or at least do the impact that they can do. So I think it has something to do with time. If the younger part of our target group digs more and more into it, their parents and the older segments will get into it eventually. And I just think with the development in the world, and especially the Danish society, which I'm a part of, is moving into that direction. Everything we read about it is moving into that direction. So we cross our fingers. We stick to some kind of the same communication. We just make it easier for everyone to be part of with the development of the online attributes and buy it in our physical stores and so on. So yeah, we'll just spread the word about it, and eventually all of our different target groups and segments will hopefully be part of it.
Yes, and I can maybe also add that, as we heard before, that the big department stores have a big focus on this right now because they all want to contribute to this green transition. But we can also see big online players like, for example, Zalando. They now are going into also reselling their products, and a whole category of sustainability. And everybody knows this is the way we have to go. And of course, we have to get the consumer to be a part of this whole travel and transition. But I think transparency and openness from the brands as what do we do and where do we have difficulties is the way forward. Because not giving any information or sharing the challenges, the consumer and especially the young people, they just think that the brands have something to hide. So like we heard the two examples here, working very hard and sharing the opportunities and also taking step by step into this circular transition. I think that's the way forward for all brands, and then getting the trust with the consumer. Then I'm sure we will get to that in a collaboration with the brands and the consumers. But it's a movement, and I think it's a very brave of the brands investing in this before maybe the big demand is here, but they will be the one that's winning in the long run.
Perfect. And I'm sorry, Nick, you wanted to comment? Yes, go. Please.
Could I follow up on that one? Because right as you say, Bettina, and right now, if you're not part of this journey in the fashion industry, you better become it. Because as you say, Zalando, it could be De Bijenkorf in the big department store in Holland. It could be Magasin in Denmark. Those guys are setting up a minimum standard of you as performing as brand. So, for example, De Bijenkorf in Holland has a 2023 plan. If you haven't reached the minimum limit of driving a sustainable brand measured on a lot of different parameters, you're simply not just part of their department store anymore. You'll be kicked out in 2023. So they are setting up standards. So if you want to be playing with the big players in the future, you better get going in the right direction. So they are actually, even though they can be big and bad sometimes, they are actually doing something to push the small brands as well, which is a very very positive thing, because a lot of small shops can say as well, we would prefer sustainability, but that does not really affect the big brands. But when the big players do, you better listen. Otherwise, you do not have a business model in a couple of years.
That's excellent. Thank you for sharing. So it's time to close. It has been an extremely interesting session. We will publish it in the, as I said, in the ECCP and in our online channels. And we are very grateful for your contribution, Bettina, Nick, Natasha, Lars. And I hope to have opportunities to hear you again in the future and for sure to collaborate. Don't hesitate to contact us for any need on collaboration, okay? Both the ECCP and both ECA, the European Cluster Alliance, are open for helping you to establish any contact that will help you develop your projects. Again, congratulations and see you soon. Have a very good day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.